Every time I look at you, I can't understand why you let the things you do get so out of hand. We'd have managed better if you had a plan. Now why'd you choose such a backward time in such a strange land? If we'd come today, we could have built the whole nation. Israel and BC had no mass communication. Don't you get me wrong? Don't you get me wrong? All I wanna know, all I wanna know. All I wanna know, Jesus Christ, superstar, where are the viewers on this stream? Okay, guys, is anyone here? Is this stream even live? I don't know. It says no one's in here. I don't know if I should trust YouTube ever again. But what I do trust is Mubarak Eid and Mubarak Nowrooz if you celebrate. So if you're Persian, Happy New Year to Middle Eurasia. And if you happen to be, Islamic, or if you happen to be, there's a few other, Zoroastrian, or if you happen to be Baha'i, then, Happy Nowruz. Eid is also today, so Mubarak Eid, yeah. Okay, guys, how are you doing? So today, I feel like I've made a couple different videos this week, which I'm happy with. I hope you guys were okay with them. One was not very edited, it was just kind of off the cuff. Rambling, spitballing over. I get chat from both streams. So from now I'm seeing chat pop up finally. But it says in my little thing, it says that there are 13 people present between both channels. It says there's 6 on one, and 7, 8. It's changing 9, 6. I don't know, but I think also my connection is pretty crappy right now. On my street, I have, I'll blame it on them because I was just saying happy Eid to everybody who's ending their fast and all that today. But we have a large Ethiopian and Somali population in our neighborhood, and they're all getting together last night, tonight, and probably 4 a.m. or whenever, sunrise, 7 a.m. or whatever tomorrow. But they're all together, and so everyone in the neighborhood is home today, and the internet has been so slow because there's cars all around the block and family gathering together. But I think every kid in every house is on the Wi-Fi, like watching Naruto, or I don't know what kids watch these days. Whatever. So how are we doing, you guys? Furlock, hello. Corinne Kelly, hello. Karina Kelly. Sorry, I need to move. Well, I need to leave that there, but I need to see better. I need to get glasses. Am I at that point in my life? Hey, Jan, what's up? Mota B. Good to see you. Elf Punch, Elf Puncher, love that name. I'll never stop loving that name. And I will always love Elf Puncher. Chris Howell, what's up, everybody? How's it going? Sage, what's up? Bambi McCluskey, what's going down? Carson Fram, what's up? Michelle, Barnhill, so good to see you. CC Aquascapes, hope you're doing well as well. If anybody knows that John Lennon song, that's basically all he says. Is the whole song is well, and then he just starts screaming. I blame Yoko Ono. It probably made him lose his mind. But fish are the topic of the channel, and I was trying to think if I have, I do have something important to say. I'm trying to decide if I want to wait a little longer. I'm trying to keep things upbeat, and I really need to, because I might, depending on how this weekend goes, I might stream again. I'm not sure. The SeaTac lines at the airport are awful right now. They don't have enough TSA people, or they're not. I don't know. Some people have took like time off that aren't getting paid, like because they're not. Something's going on with the pay. I don't even know the details, but it's been on the news a lot that the wait times through security, if you're leaving SeaTac, are terrible. Coming to SeaTac, no big deal. Yep. It's kind of a frustrating layout of an airport, honestly. If you fly Alaska or Hawaii or Lufthansa, those ones have like their own part of the airport. And so when you land in Seattle, you have to take a train, and that's common in a lot of airports, but you have to take a train to the main airport, and then you have to walk, and then you have to walk again. And then if you want to park offsite or rent a car or whatever, then you have to take another train. And it's cool that there is a way to do that. Some places you just get there and you have to take a taxi, but at least Seattle has a couple options. But yeah. Let's see here. Job Fishing, what's up? Randall Ben, Prodigal Aquarist. We got more folks filtering in, and I hope everybody is doing well. Happy Friday is right. Thank you. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so for those of you who was like, what was he saying at the beginning of the stream, that crazy man? I have, in Seattle, we have a lot of Somali and Persian transplants from before, like from when the Shah fell and all that. A lot of Persians that have been here since like the 70s, since the Rock the Casbah days, when everyone was like, oh, Arab, Persian, same thing. And, they were just the dudes who drove Mercedes, basically, is all we knew them by it. In elementary school, everyone's dad who was Persian had a BMW or a Mercedes. So there's a bunch of them. So happy New Year's for that part of the world. One of the oldest calendar systems. It's their New Year's today. And also for everybody who fasts in Islam, it's their day. So I know we got a lot of Indonesian viewers that watch this after the fact. I know we got Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore down there. There's quite a few. So obviously we are accepting of all religions or no religions, but I like to say also, first happy day, first day of spring also falls. I love how, and great, thank you for pointing that out, my Sacramento crew. I love how the calendar systems around the world, when you look at different religions and different cultures, like whether it's the Aztecs, and people think of the Aztecs as a culture, but also like their calendar system was a religion too, and that's the only reason it was a calendar, other for crops obviously too, but it's a whole power structure, it's a whole organization, and you have to know when frost's going to come if that's in your part of the world, or when the rainy season starts, or yada yada. So it's very powerful to know when an eclipse is going to happen. That makes you look pretty mysterious if you can figure all that out back in the day. But it's really interesting what all these different, like whether it's Chinese New Year's or like Tet or like Vietnamese New Year's, like there's little subtle differences and stuff, but like there's that, and then there's the Islamic New Year, which is based on like Muhammad, and also there's like moon cycle or sun cycle, but then there's also what year they start zero from. And so I find it really interesting, because in the Western world we kind of just take for granted that it's the year 2026, and if you really think about it, you're like, yeah, it's because Jesus was born that long ago. And it's like, actually, when you look into it, not really. It kind of goes back to my last video, which is like, are we being accurate? Like, was Jesus born on Christmas? No, not really. Probably in late spring or something, but it worked well with the old calendar system in most of Europe, and they wanted to get the Romans and the all those barbarians and pagans on board. So they were like, just throw in the solstice, and there used to be 13, just like Bugsy Craftworks is saying, there used to be 13 in some cases there's different cultures, there's 13 months, sometimes there's a shorter month. There was other calendar systems that didn't account for stuff. This has nothing to do with fish, but I'm always just fascinated by it because a lot of the first things that get planned out in culture, actually, believe it or not, this is the nerdy archaeologist part of my brain that comes out. It actually has a lot to do with like crops, harvest, animal migrations, things like that, rain and water availability, but fishing also. So like, when do the trout come back? When do the salmon come back? When is the sardine, like when are they so thick that you could literally throw a net out and pull in a solid ball of fish meat in like 5 minutes? When does that happen? And knowing that and having that out there, and these resources that now we don't see anymore in that abundance, we don't truly understand the scope a lot of times of how many fish used to be in the ocean. And right now, 2/3 of freshwater fish species are under some sort of risk. 2/3, and 1/3 of them are either endangered or vulnerable or extinct. One of those three. So it's bad news bears for both the ocean and freshwater fish. But what's wild is how something collapses in the ocean ecosystem reverberates around the world. And so I stay out of the muddy waters of fish collecting on the reefs and things like that, like in Hawaii. Sure, I'm sure there's sustainable ways to do it and stuff like that, but I'm all for, if we can do it domestically in captivity, great. I think if it's an aquacultured reef where they've like put old junk there, like old boats and stuff, they sunk it and they want to harvest there, that might be a good compromise. But what's fascinating is how when one fishery collapses, it impacts so much. And so one example of this is in Washington State, where I'm from, freshwater fish. The salmon, when they used to be in our area, we had so much richer soil in the watersheds of Washington State, Northern California, Oregon, Idaho, even into Montana and Wyoming. It literally, there were millions of tons of fish in every large river system. And the fish, they would say, I mean, there's pictures of it too from the late 1800s still, where people literally could not cross a river a mile wide that's shallow. It's like a inland 200 miles, but the fish were literally still coming so mass and in such mass that literally you could not step on one while walking across a creek or a river. And there's certain spots where the natives people would all gather, like different drop-offs or waterfalls where the fish just simply can't go farther. But it's always a changing thing. And what's so interesting to me is that the actual tops of the trees in an evergreen forest in the Northwest, where we get all this rain and stuff, the salmon that just eagles and predatory birds eat actually brings enough nitrogen and phosphates and nutrients up into the higher levels of trees that there are salamanders, newts, voles, shrews, flying squirrels, little all sorts of different stuff that lives only up over 100 feet in the trees. And it counted on that bioload of salmon to literally have a bird dropping the fish innards and things up in the tree where it would dry out, and then moss or whatever would, or there's all sorts of pitcher plants and things that the Northwest used to have more of, but also just the forest at large, the underbrush. You'd have bears and things, and there were so many fish that even a grizzly could literally just pick up a fish, bite the fillet belly part, and throw the head and the tail and the spine off to the side and grab another fish. And that's what they do in the Northwest. If you ever go to a spot where you truly get to see where there's still a lot, like up in the northern Nooksack River, The northern Nooksack River is incredible. It's the largest assembly of bald eagles in the continental United States, or contiguous United States, I should say. Alaska has bigger ones, but it's same with like the Fraser River Valley. There's a spot in Washington I've been to where there are literally thousands of bald eagles now. And we were at a point in the 70s where DDT had literally left us with, I think, 6,000 to 7,000 bald eagles is what they were thinking. And there was a real possibility that we could not have the bald eagle. So it's really wild now that they've spring back so quick. And, the other thing, I've gotten a lot of messages of folks saying, hey, Alex, you should talk about what happens to the Gulf of, to the Arab Gulf if all these oil wells are exploding and leaking and pipelines are getting blown up and all that. And one, I'm going to stay away from most of that because I just don't want to talk about it. You know what happens. You guys aren't stupid. You know what happens when a bunch of oil goes into the ocean. But one thing I do find pretty inspiring is that we have been learning from that very body of water, from the water off of Qatar and the Arab Emirates, that shallow, super hot, salty water is the only water in the world that is literally that hot for that much of the year, right by the equator, right in the baking sun. The deepest that gets is like 200 feet, and most of it's like 100 feet at the deep spots, and the reefs are like 20 to 50 feet deep. So the bleaching of the coral that happens in Florida, in Australia, all these places around the world that people are freaking out about, and it's rightfully so. Like over half the corals disappeared in 10 years from what it was. 12 years, I think, is what the last number was. But they're now bioengineering the genes from the coral in the Arab region and in the Red Sea as well, because they can withstand water up to 101 Fahrenheit. They can withstand that for a few weeks or a day or what, different variables for different corals and sponges. But the sad thing would be if literally that area that has some of these unique species, both fish, sponges, like sea cucumbers, sea fans, algae, you name it, all the stuff that's in an ocean, some of that unique stuff is could get lost if we're not careful. Also, all the people in that area cannot be supported off of that area, and so they've all built desalination plants off the ocean. This happens all over the Mediterranean and Northern Africa as well, but they're very expensive. And so the other thing that almost happened the other day was there was an atomic energy site, nuclear, if you will, that less than, way closer than the UN has ever suggested be allowed, closer than the Russians even dare strike in Chernobyl, believe it or not. The Israelis decided to hit, and I'll call a spade here. And the US even said, like, you can't do that. You gotta stop that. Because if that were to leak into the Arab Gulf, not only would it kill possibly all the life in the Arab Sea there and the Strait of Hormuz and everything there, but you would actually see that the water that 50 million plus people, all the way to Riyadh, all the way, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, all over the place, that it would be irradiated. And you can't just clean that out of the water, even when you're, distilling it or RODIing it. And so there are some potential very, very bad outcomes. And same for Iran. If they sabotaged a site and broke it or left it with no one manning it because we bombed it or whatever, I don't care who does it, but I'm just saying that is the one story that I feel like is definitely worse than like even oil or anything, because oil, it leaks into that Gulf a lot. Like a lot of it naturally seeps and leaks. And there's even bacteria that we've discovered and different, microbes, and even more complex life than that, like sponges and things that live on vents that eat like the hydrocarbon, which is incredible. And we found fungi that do that on land too. But, and there are a few microbes that do, in fact, live off nuclear waste, as it were, but not in the numbers that are meaningful, helpful, cleaning things up in anybody's 20 lifetimes or anything like that. But it's kind of interesting that, like, in the cooling ponds in Fukushima, they found bacteria already that has evolved for the niche to live in an irradiated steel lined or whatever it is, I don't know, lead lined case. Pretty cool. Anyways, guys, so I wanted to just say that. Hey, Gary, what's going on? Also, thank you so much for the membership, Johnny, buddy. I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate all the members we have in here right now. Wicked Freaking Aquatics, Johnny, obviously. We got USMC, I don't know if I should say like Wendy or what, but anyways, hello. I'll just say USMC. And then also Ollie the Puffer, Jan, what's up? Dagmar Haggerty, good to see y'all. And 186 Element, I know you've been here forever. Even if you're not like quote unquote a paid up member, like just thank you guys for coming back and for hanging out and for bringing me the news and for asking questions and chilling and chatting with each other. I really appreciate it. Let's see here. Hoved Aquatics, pontificating will do us plebes no actual good. Yeah, that's true, man. I feel you. I feel you on that one. Fishcapades, what's up? Hope you're doing well. And Fish Family Link, hello, Mr. Robot, Chatbot. Hope you're robotic. Hey, gifted another membership. Johnny, you knocked that off, bro. You let others do that for a minute. You always, you're my boy, Blue. I don't know. I do appreciate it, though. Thank you very kindly. It's very generous of you to do that so that others can then join in and check out some of the extra stuff that I put up. And like I was saying, I've been meaning to do an extra stream where we do something fun and probably give away. I still have all the 1K or whatever, 100K pennies giveaway planned. And I honestly, what I realized is, one, weather is cray all over the country, and we don't, like, a lot of people can't get stuff right now. And so a lot of what I have as giveaway stuff is like, you can buy stuff with a gift card. And so while I also feel like there's this like kind of weird, I feel like it's not real yet, the 100K mark. And also I feel just kind of like, I've been waiting a lot lately for the other shoe to drop in life, like to be, if you know what I mean, like with my health or with money or whatever's going on, with the house roof leaking, the hot water heating failing, the sewage line failing. All these things have happened in the last year, right? And I'm kind of scared to like unroll the biggest giveaway we've ever done on the channel. But it's happening still. So I just, I want you guys to know that I'll still be doing it. And if you guys hang out in the channel, on the channel, you know, it'll be, it'll be around, soon. We'll be doing it soon. Also, yeah, but like a lot of people can't get shrimp, for instance, or can't get, fish because apparently the weather has decided to just freeze some places and be like 80 degrees the next day, other places. But, anyways, let's see here. What do we got going on? Also, I saw that we had Asya, 58 months of support. Like, that blows my mind. That could be a child that can talk. That could be a kid talking about fish. That's how long you've supported this channel. It could be a kid being like, I like goldfish and guppies. They could say that now if they been around 58 months. That's wild. But thank you so very much. Like, man, I am so blessed and so grateful. Speaking of me being blessed and grateful, I was going to show you guys how the aquarium looks, and like in the other room, because I know the videos my goal originally was to release them, like to save them all and then release them one by one as like, this is the setup, this is the filter, this is the CO2. But I realized, like, if I set up the CO2, well, I want a picture of it with pretty plants running CO2. And how do I get that shot in the video talking about the CO2 until I had it set up? So I filmed pretty much everything now, other than like, here's the final aquascape, because that'll be changing for another month or two until I get it where I want it, ideally for like the photo op. But the whole video series I have pretty much filmed now, like 10 to 12 videos, probably more. Everything from, I decided I'm not going to do videos on saying like, this is the ADA filter, here's how you set it up, because they already have videos that are their brand ambassadors, their like employees, literally doing that online. And they even have like QR codes for you to scan in their booklets and stuff, so that you can do that when you order their stuff from AFA or ADA. But what I do want to give is like a real review of like what I see in the product. And, you know, the thing that I'm a little torn on is like, do I have to say it in every video that like, that it's a luxury brand, guys. You can DIY CO2 with gelatin, pectin, and bread yeast and some sugar of any kind, and a water bottle and some airline, and yes, and some bread yeast. And you could make that a viable low CO2 small tank, no problem. You can even get high pressure CO2 in cheap, low tech ways. Or even just go buy it. It's like 20 bucks. I mean, if you can get a free tank from somewhere, you can hustle up the rest and Frankenstein a thing together. But my point with that is everyone going to be like, yeah, no crap, it's a luxury line, and like, you don't need to say every time that it's way too much money, because that's the truth. If you're coming to look at a review of an ADA or AFA or Boost Plant, UNS, whatever it may be, Mr. AquaTop product, you're not going to PetSmart to get the dollar per gallon sale. Their tanks are expensive. Are they high quality and well made? Sure. Is that dollar for dollar ever going to give you your money's worth in a functional, like, and your people, this is the ironic part. I'm going to say this in a Marxian way. So like, in a very literal sense, will the value of said object ever return as much enjoyment or utility or use before it breaks? Will that item ever amount to like the filter you can get for 150 bucks versus the one you can get for 500 or 600? They have the same exact physics with their impeller. They maybe one has a plastic impeller and the other one has a metal or aluminum or platinum impeller, right? But at the end of the day, it's negligible in the life of the thing a lot of times. Now, where there is something big on ADAs, you can literally take apart their filter all the way down to like the inside of the motor, and you can fix it up. And the right to repair, I truly do value, because like Fluval and stuff like that, you can Frankenstein stuff, and you can pull out like impellers and like, you know, magnets and like armature bars and stuff like that. But you can't readily, at least where I live, you can't. I only know one store that sells pieces of filters that are like $50 filters. everywhere else, they just assume you're going to throw it out and buy a new one. If it's under $200, they assume that, even with like lights and stuff like that. And as you saw when I put that janky light back together, which I need to get a new light, you know, I think it is interesting where like I think I love Twin Star, but I've had my cat rip the cord out a lot of times, and that's not great. Like the fact that it can just be ripped out like that, straight out, and there's no terminal to tie the wire around, or to even screw like a speaker wire clamp setup on there. The fact that it's just a terminal that wasn't even tacked with a solder, it's literally, it was in there, and the wire is folded in half and shoved in, and the tension of the muscle memory or whatever of the material of the copper wire or whatever is all that's holding it in there, which is pretty lame for a luxury brand, in my personal opinion. So stuff like that, it took me a long time to realize, though, because I've had to have it break and fix it a few times. So I don't know how much I can do other than show you like, hey, this light does this, that. I like the color of it, or I don't. It looks like this. You can play with this in the app, and it's this much. And sure, you could go get a floodlight at Home Depot and get the same color if you know what color you want, in Kelvin, in warmth, in lumens, you know, in par. You can go dial that in if you know exactly what it is, and it's going to be the same all the time. Go dial that in for $30 if you want. It's not necessarily going to look good. It's not going to be waterproof necessarily. It may burn your house down. No. But, you know, you get the point, I think. So anyways, covering those materials, I decided I'm not going to do like a whole run through of it and stuff like that. In the sense of like, this is how you put it together, because they actually have also push fits. Exactly. Thank you, Gary. At Alex, I can't afford a CO2 setup, but from a DIY perspective, if it's ghetto, that's my name. No, I feel you. I mean, what has my channel had for years? Like, I did get a rimless aquarium that's sitting in the living room right now. I got that at my last house from a pet store that like basically like wanted me to say their name and give out some promotional info. And two great kind viewers that were like, hey, Alex, we want to get you a rimless tank so you can do an aquascape that looks kind of like the professional ones. Because all my other ones at that point had been in my old rim tanks in apartments. And like, you know, it was very apparent on channels like Aquarium Co-op or Chris Lukoff or Oliver Knott, George Farmer, anybody who was around early on, that ADA or rimless, that was the kind of gold standard, or at least the look. They set the trend. You can't deny that. And it's kind of like Ferrari or Rolex. Like the Ferrari, like, can you buy a Hellcat that will go as fast as some of the Ferraris on the road? Yeah, you could buy a $100,000 or $110,000 souped up Dodge that's going to have the same speed as a lesser expensive Ferrari. But are you going to want the lines, the legacy, the tradition, the name, the clout that comes with it, the fact that you spent money and everyone knows that? There's something there that some people want. And I clearly wear old t-shirts and I'm wearing the same, you know, shirt for a week. No, not really, but I wear the same shirts, like the same 20 shirts all the time, and I haven't bought new clothes in years. And that's just like how I am with spending money. I hate spending money on anything other than Dr. Pepper, or I guess Mr. Pibb's fine too. Light a bonfire of orange Von Rio lush salty aquarium. So that's actually what we need to talk about today, is that we are also so let's go look at the aquarium real quick, and then I need like your opinions on like what we should put in it, because it's not really that big of an aquarium. And so as we go over to the aquarium, bear in mind that right now it's the worst it will probably ever look. Actually, maybe the last video was the algae video. And so just keep that in mind. And a lot of people were like, oh, you could have avoided having algae if you followed the rules laid out by ADA. And I was like, yeah, but that meant only tissue cultures, no fish in the cycle, adding hydrochloric acid and ammonia and other additives, adding Brighty K and KH stuff per their line of products. It's another 20 or 30 bucks every time you get something of theirs, and one, that wouldn't be neat. I can just put some crushed coral in there. And will I get an algae spike that I have to kind of tinker with and like go back and forth a bit compared to the science they've already figured out? If you do 40% water change a day and you have this baseline of RODI water, like people were commenting, well, you just need to get an RODI water setup and then just use their system. And it's like, oh yeah, just get an ROD system, just do. For a lot of people, that's just not feasible. So to me, I think that we're gonna do this tank the way I do tanks, which is like, I'll use whatever they sent me for free, but I'm gonna do things the cheap way or the free way, like plant wise and stuff. If I want a rare plant that someone I know has, I'm gonna put it in my tank. Does it have diatoms from algae on it? Probably. Can you see them? No. But like when it is in a new tank, will it explode when you have CO2 and high light and like perfect nutrients for any plant? Yeah, it's a good chance that it'll at least go through a phase of flaring up. So we'll take a look at it right now and know that a couple plants, the kabamba, the really pretty fiery orange and red kabamba, that has all lost all of its color and been melting. And also the hair grass is kind of falling apart. But I actually got that hair grass at I will show you the tank, Critter Style. I will. Let me mute this so that we don't get a bunch of feedback too. I have to set up a new camera. So enter studio. Mute. Okay. Here we go. Mute this. Hide this. Solo layout. All right. Mute. All right. You guys hear me? Get away from your mic. Okay. By the way, my leg doing much better. I've got a soft cast system and a boot. They still have to do lancing and stuff every few days, twice a week, but it's only half a centimeter deep now, and that's where the callus is, which is much better. So hopefully I will be out collecting again soon. So here's something funny that happened. My dad, and are you guys getting a bunch of echo? But my dad came over and I tested the, here it is, the ammonia. And it came out blue. And that's not one of the options on the test kit. It's green. And echo mild. Oh, sorry. All right, let's see. Can I turn that down? Let me turn that down. There's probably a way to turn that. I still don't look at the screen if you get busy. Mike is hello? All right. That should be better, hopefully. Okay, there we go. So hopefully the echo's gone now. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm kind of playing with some plants in this tank. And I'm playing with this, what I thought was Mayaka. You'll learn when you put things in high-tech tanks, sometimes you find out, oh, that's not the species I thought it was. Like this Rotala blood red definitely is Atra. Like some of the species are not what I thought they were. Same with like this Ludwigia super red is definitely not the Ludwigia I thought it was. But here you can see the Kabamba. It's not beautiful like it was, and that's because the nitrates are too high. And for a couple weeks, the ammonia was as well. You can see all the algae right there. And me being a dum-dum, I didn't go get a toothbrush. And that's what I should have gotten right off the bat, was a toothbrush to get rid of that. But you still get the general gist of the tank. And now finally we are at a stage where I've been doing water changes pretty much every other day. And I could do them daily and have this cycle faster. But the thing is, I actually wanted to keep the ammonia and the nitrogen compounds running kind of high, in the sense that like that way when I use fertilizer or the root tab system, and I did all these different layers of substrate that they sent me, the aquamarine and the Bacter 100 and all this stuff. So I wanted to see if it actually makes a difference. So I did put that in, and I do want it to be running at a high enough like ammonia of 1 part per million or something. If you were to turn it off for a day, like I want the system to have that to be like how much it can process a day at least in this little tank. And also that will make the fish much safer in the long run. But here we got a test strip. We'll put a test strip in. My guess is, yeah, right off the bat, look at that, bang, pink. And what we were looking for before, we were getting this canary yellow, like bright soft yellow, and now we're getting a more orange color. That's because I put KH, or calcium and carbonate, in the form of crushed coral, which is not the ADA system. Let me tell you that. It's just a system everyone can use at home, and I bought 10 pounds of it for like $5, the crushed coral. It is bright white, and that's obnoxious. But I kind of hid it back behind stuff, so you won't see it when everything's growing and planted. But right now, the grass is really taking a beating, and this hair grass, which I got the tissue cultures of that from Petco, PetSmart, and it was only $9.99 I bought 2 bags of it. So for $9.99 for all of that grass to be planted. But it's kind of melted really badly. And so I kind of wish I had bought the ADA or AFA or any other brand of grass. Now, when you use tissue cultures, you have to expect the possibility of melt. And right now, look at this. This is wild, because this would never happen in my other tanks. Look at this. So we've got here, let's show the key here. Look at that. It is so bright pink on the second one. I mean, that's got to be 20 parts per million of nitrite, this one. Whereas the nitrate is actually dropping finally. So is the nitrite, but it means there's still a lot of ammonia being processed. And I have a separate test strip for ammonia. But what's better is the pH is right around 6.5 or 7, somewhere in there finally. And so that means that the ammonia and the nitrite is much less toxic to fish. And for that matter, to plants. Like plants like feeding on ammonia, but they don't want a ton of ammonia. They want like 10 parts per million at most, or they get overloaded and they actually can like start getting burnt and damaged. As we were seeing, I took pictures so you can see it later in videos when I put it together, but the Kabamba was literally melting. Yeah, you can see a bit of it still on this piece that is back in this tangle here. See how that white stem right there has turned white. It's like it looks sun bleached almost. That is because of the pH and the ammonia. One, that the pH dropped as low as 6.0 because CO2 was just raging and there was no buffer other than just the aqua soil, which has like 4 kH or so, but my water has no hardness. So ADA recommends that you have at least 2 or 3 kH degrees, which again, if you're doing kH, that's degrees of hardness in the German system. So it's actually, when you look at the parts per million test strips, you multiply parts per million by 17.2 technically. So if you see a 3 kH on a website, that's DKH. It's not parts per million. So when you see that the KH says 3 or 4 or 7 or whatever, if you're trying to translate that or convert that back to parts per million, which is what for some reason Americans use on a lot of systems, or if you're trying to figure out like, oh, my nitrates and this or that are at this, we measure different substances in different, methods. And so, yeah. Anyways, so what I'm doing here, look at all the cat toys everywhere. The cat, of course, is digging in the litter box because he knows that that's loud and annoying. But what I was going to say is, here we've got some Bacopa salzmane that finally I just wanted to like see, okay, how red is this going to be? Or the Ludwigia Rubin wild culture. I was like, okay, what's this tank lighting going to do to it? Or the Hygrophila triflora. So we're growing things out. We're trying things. Some of the plants melt low down or have algae. And again, like I said, like the Persicaria, the mermaid leaf plant, just doing fabulous. Now in my other tank with CO2, I know from just experience that this plant, when we move stuff out of the way here, this plant here, let's move the light so y'all can see without the glare. This plant here, right here, is the mermaid plant. It will get all the way to like a rusty or kind of like more like these colors here when it has CO2 highlight and its whole life has been under that. And we're also seeing that with the Ludwigia sphaeocarpa. I think that's how you say the name. And then this is doing exactly what I wanted, which this is Rotala rotundifolia, but it's actually the wild Vietnamese variety. So it has some purple in its in CO2 and the leaves or the stem gets kind of red or pink, but I wanted a wall of green. So really what I want is to be able to cut that over and over again and create a whole green wall to hide, the heater, to hide everything from that. And then the other thing that we've got in here that you probably just can't see because they're tiny and they're under the algae is the pink flamingo crypts that are kind of tucked in that'll hopefully still survive and rise through this whole melt phase. But right now, I'm also, like I said, I'm trying out a couple of plants that I'm just literally floating under the light to see how purple they're going to get or how red they're going to get, just to try them, just to see, like here's the Potomac Eaton Gayi. It is going to be absolutely a showstopper. In its other tank, it's it's nice. It's bronze and yellow and like lime colored, but here it's really getting red and yeah. So that's one that like I'm rethinking too. Like maybe I want to use that as kind of a background, like mid ground. Anyways, so this will all grow in ideally as a carpet. And here we'll have stems that I have to literally keep up with like daily, trimming them and replanting the top and trimming them and replanting the top. But that's this tank for right now. Now it needs to be, it's been on too long already today. It needs like only 5 or 6 hours of light right now. It needs very little light and it's getting diffuse light from nature, from the window. So that right there really shows you how wild the CO2 and the nutrients and ferts are for it. So let's come over here to my other two scapy tanks, which I've neglected my son. I've neglected these tanks, but let's
let's take a look. Let's just test them to compare, just so y'all can see. And I need to come up with inhabitants for that flame tank, guys. That's what I was gonna talk about this whole video, and I got sidetracked. But we'll still talk about it. And we're gonna test that tank there. We're gonna test this tank here. This tank is going on 11 or 12, 11 years, 11 years now. This tank over here is going on 3 or 4 years cycled at this house. And so, yeah, look at that. That is 6.0 water, no nitrates, no nitrites. And the KH is the green is like, I don't know, 4 KH, 3 KH. And the blue, the general hardness is probably about 30 parts per million or 2 to 4. You know, they're both probably 2 to 4. And so that's really soft water. And this is where I stole a lot of those plants from. But that lets us know that we can't just take the fish or the plants. Look at this Malloa, how red this one is. Look how red that Malloa is. It is like a Neocaridina red up there hiding on that blue flame. I mean, it's almost purple. Look at that. Compared to these other ones that are just kind of brown. And then look at that beautiful, we got that beautiful loach down there. I love those guys. We've also got the Rasbora het purple morph in here. And then we've got the Rasbora het wild morph. And then we've got the Kyphit Danios, the bigger ones, and the gold ring Danios or Tinwinny Danios. And we've got the Lake Inlay Danios in there. So that's what's in here mostly. And then the rosy loach, or as it's now known, the mango loach. But yeah, so all that stuff, this is all growing immersed, whatever you want to call it. But you can see all this growth literally sucks any amount of nitrates, nitrites, ammonia out of there and drops all this bioload of all the leaves and things melting in here just as they grow and as they're in the shade, and it's so densely packed. It's never going to have ammonia, even if all those fish died, like right now. Now over here, we have more hardness in this tank because it's 12 years old, and evaporation and not many water changes is how this tank has been raised. And so we've got a GH of maybe, I don't know, 6, and a KH of maybe 4 or 5, and a pH of probably right around 7 or 6.8. And then again, no nitrites or nitrates. And again, I have had this tank packed with fish, with angelfish, with everything, big fish, medium fish. I mean, you can have so many fish in this tank. I think I probably have near 150, if you count the babies, of the guppies and endlers in here right now, plus snails, plus all this kabamba. Now, this has no CO2, and it's kind of medium-ish light, medium to medium high. I don't have this light up all the way, this twin star. But again, this tank also does have claudophora. So it has this annoying algae that mossballs have. But this is the Florida or the North American strain of it. And it is just a super pain to deal with. And so I never want to get it in the other tank. So I do hydrogen peroxide dips for a tiny bit if I can help it, just to get rid of it. Because see, here's more of it right here. Look at this. I hate this stuff. It's my least favorite algae. It's almost not algae. It's almost like a plant. It's so hardy. It's kind of like blackbeard or staghorn algae. But I've been trying to pull it out, throw it in the bucket, get rid of large amounts of it. But I might need to do something more drastic, like use a chemical, because not even blackouts are doing it. Now, again, even without CO2, without any fertilizers, this tank just has like snails and isopods and the food that I feed it and a whole ecosystem, right? And it's like 12 years old. And that's why the substrate's super layered and janky. This tank can support also like these beautiful Logonandra, big old red Logonandra or silver queen Logonandra, the big Anubias hybrids that I have. Barclay longifolia, or these big crypts, the Hidori's crypts and the Nori crypt down here, Aponigeton. It can support a lot of stuff. I don't have a harder water tank though. And so you can see like that Triflora that's doing super well in the new aquascape. Look how poorly it's doing in this tank over here, even though this tank actually has CO2 and some plants are doing well. Well, the mermaid weed and the Triflora, the Hygrophila Triflora, this one here, are doing terrible. Whereas in the other tank in the other room, they are doing great. So let me show you one more time, and then I'll come back to the computer and we'll talk about laying the groundwork for what fish and shrimp and stuff I should put in there. But this is also going to grow out and kind of come over the edge of the rocks in that fire pit tank. And I think, I was thinking about putting some really like all red and yellow fish in this tank in the other room. But now I don't know if I want to do that, if I should do like blue. So what I was going to say is the whole reason this tank that we turn the light on, show you how the light, you can actually tap that with your foot. It's a pedal. The entire tank here, that is that plant that was all beat up and reddish and like dying in the other tank. That's the same plant right there. That's a Hygrophila Triflora. And that mermaid weed that was all ragged and falling apart, it's that one that I showed you guys right here. Doing great and bright green and orange and yellow. So having the water very, very soft, like this was at 6.0 with the pH, remember? That other tank with CO2 is running at like 6.4 maybe. But this was too soft with full bore CO2. So we had to harden it up with some KH. And now we're dialing it in, and we're seeing with like the Ludwigia spirocarpa, we're getting some nice little cherry notes in the plant too, which is cool. And with the Hygrophila Triflora, we're seeing red and cherry notes. So now that has to kind of like reestablish itself. And we have to decide. So this is going to be kind of greens and yellows in the background. Green around the floor with a couple of maybe pink splotches. But again, you can see how bright this red will potentially get. And it will be everything in the center. This will be blood red and orange and yellow, depending on how high up the plant it is. And the algae obviously will be gone. So we're already getting rid of the true diatom algae that was on the glass. And you can see some of it is it loves carpets. So it's right now it's in the carpets very heavily. But if we do a blackout, we can melt it away. There's a number of things we can do, but mostly staying up on the water changes will be the biggest thing. All right, let me get back to the other computer. Hold on. Plug your ears if you don't like feedback. And can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thank you so much, Critter Style, for the super chat. I appreciate it. I couldn't see the super chats in the other room. I'm kind of flying blind when I do that. Also, let's see here. 100 Ember Tetras, of course. Yeah. I thought about like, do I add yellow and orange and red, like beautiful fish that are fiery? Or do I do something kind of neutral, like a silver kind of underrated fish, like a Somfong Rasbora or Kinwini Danios, which
have a very subtle beauty to them, because that tank is only 15, like, I don't know, 17, 16 gallons, whatever it is. It's in metric. I don't know. Hello, Willie Zen. I hope you're doing well. The Furlock, also, welcome. And who else is in here? Alex Evans, hello. And Montana Coiner, what's going on? George, what's going on? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah. Have I bred my pork chop rasboras? Yes, Johnny, I have. They like, for breeding, they like basically black water. They really like 5.0 pH. They will breed in anything below 7, I've been told. But getting them in the mood, it's kind of hard. You have to do a fake wet season and add cannons, and then they have to see an overabundance of paramecium, but you can't let the nitrates and nitrites get to a bad quality point. So it's one of those nano fish that you need to show them and their babies that there's food, even if the parents don't even eat that small of food, single cell organisms and so forth. And that will trigger the parents to say it's worth our calories. But then you need to feed the parents live food to fatten them up enough, oftentimes. Some people use golden pearls. You can do that. That's also good enough. But yeah, you know, so now I'm torn though. So I could do kind of the neutral fish, which is what aquascapers always do. And I kind of don't want to do that, honestly. As much as it does allow a very plain fish to shine when you put them in an aquascape like that, especially when it's that small. Like something like a butterfly barb that is $20 a fish and yet only gets this big, or J barbs would be something cool to put in there too. But you know, it's also like I don't know. And yes, Lisa the Wolf, thank you again for your support, being a member 2 months. I really do appreciate members. I appreciate everyone, but thank you. I love to see that. And also the Pseudomagil gertrudea or the Luminatus. Love both those fish. They both have a nice pop of yellow to them usually, and they're both just showstoppers. They would spin around that column of the fire or stick flame in the center, and 2 males, if you had 2 or 3 males in there and like 5 or 6 females, the thing would be jumping. I'd have to put lid over it unless I'm taking pictures or watching it closely. They're real jumpers, but that would be, and I've even thought of, because I'm breeding them in the back room. I mean, not actively, they're growing out from when I did breed them a year ago. They're still not full grown yet. They're a slow grower. Hello, wife. My wife just got home, you guys. Yeah, so now I'm curious, you know, I'm curious what, you know, do we do a blue fish then maybe? I mean, like, I'm not going to do neon tetras. That's too common. But I was thinking about like drape barbs, because they are another one that, you know, they're not expensive. They're like $6 if you find them. A lot of times you can't find them. That's a whole other topic. But again, just to tell you, I know this doesn't work very well, but again, butterfly barbs, they're pretty cute. That's what they look like. And they're tiny. They're not even an inch long, but they got yellow and then kind of like pink around the eye and then kind of a clear or white body. Also, the J barb is another one I really like. They're kind of like red and pink, and they're very pretty and very tiny. So I kind of want to use something really tiny. But Moonlight Aquatics just got these in, and I've been waiting for these. They are $30 or $40 a fish, depending on which Black Arrow collection point you want. And Moonlight Aquatics, down below, there's a link for, obviously, Fish 310. If you do want to go to Moonlight Aquatics, they've got some really cool cories, and they just got a huge order from China in, and an Indonesian order. Super cool. And oh yeah, here's all the variations of that Black Arrow tetra. So you can see some of them have like a black stripe that goes down to the belly. Some it's kind of more of the center of their body. Some have a whole tail that's orange, and some just have a little hint of yellow and orange on the tail. But they're kind of a cool looking fish. But again, that's more of one of those, like, is it too neutral? So then again, we've got the drape fin barb, and I haven't really shown showed these on Facebook the other day. Can we get the color to show? They are really beautiful when they're spawning. In the mornings and in the afternoon light, they will turn like this pink and peach color. And they have this beautiful yellow and orange fin that is huge on the top of their body. And they're maybe an inch and a half long max. So they do get a little bit bigger. And then, yeah, the Pseudomagil luminatus, that's another option right there in this thumbnail. You can see what those look like. They're absolutely breathtaking, beautiful, beautiful little blue eyes. But they do, like I said, they jump. They jump out of the tank all the time. And they get startled really easy, and they all hurry to the other side of the tank in a tank that's this small. So I'm a little torn on, like, because I want a school of fish ideally, or a shoal. I love that. I love the idea of sparks flying around the fire, right? So at first it was like a no-brainer. Get a bunch of ember tetras. But then I realized when I got the tank, the size of that tank, I could maybe put 20 or 25 ember tetras in there, no problem. But even those, they get a little big. They'd be fine bioload wise, but I think they would be a little cramped in there if I did anything more than like 15 fully grown. Again, other options that I was thinking about are those rosy loaches that we were looking at in the other room. I thought that would be pretty cool. Yeah, we could do a betta sorority in there too. That's another option. And shrimp are another thing that I'm like deciding on, shrimp and on snails, and you know, what do I want to use in there? The other fish that I have right now in the other room is these, and they are a barb that doesn't have a common name really, other than like the high fin Indian barb. But they stay an inch long, and they're kind of subtle. They have yellow in their face and yellow paired fins down like right on their belly, but the rest of their body is pretty plain. Yeah, white cloud minnows and yeah, chili rasboras. You guys, yeah, Wicked Freaking Aquatics and Lisa the Wolf. You guys are, I mean, yeah, those are totally viable, good options, you know. And the other plant that now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about it, it's one I had in the past, is Logonandra carolensii, or carolensis. That's what it is. It is a speckled plant, and I love this plant. And it doesn't get huge like the other Logonandras. Like the leaves don't get yay big. They stay more like, I don't know, like a leaf of a phone, like my phone, about as big as my phone. But yeah, so let's see here. You know, I'm torn on all this. We'll have to talk more about it, and we'll actually go look through some options. Also, I think that the mini Corys are a pretty legit option, and I think that, like, in theory, I could even put like some. Let's see. Do I have a picture of them handy? I was gonna say I could be putting something in there like that would be fun. Why can't I think of their name now? Checkerboard cichlids. That would be kind of cool. Emerald rasboras are nice. They're kind of like a plain one. And a big selection of rice fish. Again, I think that's cool. I think that's kind of in the neutral color tone. Red pencils, again, that's what so you may have just uncovered the secret that's in my head. And I think I am going to do red arc pencilfish because they are tiny, and not tiny. They're like an inch to an inch and a half, but they are really red, or Sinipa, or Amaya pencilfish. But they will hang out at the top, but they're not like crazy about jumping. Whereas some of these are really jumpers. Like the pseudomagills are not an option unless there's a lid. And that kind of defeats the purpose. By the way, this is what the Mayaka should look like in highlight. That's what it looks like in the wild. This is Ivan sent me this picture from Venezuela not too long ago. And that was what one of the plants in the quote unquote fireplace arrangement is, that melted because it was too acidic in the water. So now that we got the pH kind of dialing in better, we should have more options. And so it'll be fun to play with that. You know, Moonlight Aquatics also, though, has these. They have the Bloody Mary and the Super Bloody Mary and the they have so many of these right now for 30 to, there's one that's 150. This one right here is $150 and it's got yellow and, you know, it's just incredible. That's the rarest Borneo loach you're probably going to find in the world right now. But again, oh, here's another drape fin barb picture to show you guys, like, if that were the main, like, if I did, you know, 8 of those or 9 of those, they're pretty cool. I know this isn't the best way to show you guys pictures. This is pretty ghetto. But anyways, Isopod agenda, what's going on? They're at Moonlight. Yeah, Moonlight Aquatics has them for sure. A lot of these fish are at Moonlight, and they're also, a lot of them are at Aquatic Arts right now too. And that's like, I want to go take you guys through some of the selection, because literally I've kind of been, since nobody sponsored this tank's fish, I've kind of been talking to them and Imperial Aquatics even too. And I've kind of been like, what should I get? Hey, bring some stuff in and show me what's cool. And so I've kind of been doing that just so that then I can tell you guys, like, hey, they've got like all 10 fish that I was thinking about, no matter who I order from. Guys, check this out. This is not related, but look at this ghost catfish. Look at that. Or X-ray catfish. It's the size of a guy's arm. That's a species in Borneo. It's way too big for the hobby. But that is a translucent fish that is 18 inches long. Absolutely bonkers. Something we'll never see in the hobby, but man, it'd be cool to see that. Also, you know, I could go with something like the 8-banded barbs, fire barbs from Africa. They do get a little bit bigger too. I do think Moonlight Aquatics has these right now, which are the yellowfin cories, and they're really cute. They stay really small. Whiptails, yeah, that's another one. Banjo cats, the red lizard whiptail cats I've been thinking about also. If I could find them, I would, in a heartbeat, I would have these pedomorphic vampire Daniellas is what I would have. They're so cool, but they're like impossible to find in the hobby. They only get half an inch long, and they live a year to a year and a half. I haven't seen those in a long time. The wet spot used to get them in every once in a blue moon, but they would always be expensive. Probably just because they're so fragile, I would guess. The other thing I was thinking was these yellow Parambasis lala is what they're called. And they are a yellow or orange fire glassfish. So they're actually translucent, but they're orange and yellow translucent, which is kind of cool. Coral dwarf platies. That's a cool idea. Yeah. So I'd love to hear your guys' ideas on like what we could try out. You know, I can switch it up. That's the other thing about this tank is like, oh, and then there's also gold laser cories and all the albino gold laser cories and stuff that what's his name that Moonlight Aquatic has right now that are such a good deal. I'm so torn. Like some of these new double laser cory and like the orange and the red laser cory, they're really I really want them. Also, you know, there's always my good old favorite panda loaches, but for that you need to have a lot of water turnover, and there is in that aquarium. But yeah, also Aquatic Arts, I was gonna say they got a bunch of dojo loaches right now, and they got some other kind of cool stuff. Some Stiphodons are also both at Moonlight and Aquatic Arts, and also a ton of cories and apistos and just cichlids in general and rainbow fish are at Imperial. So all three places that I kind of rep right now these days are all, Mick has been posting them in the chat, but if you guys want to hit them up, I highly recommend if you're thinking about buying some new fish for the summer season and whatnot, like these I think are $15 or $20 at Moonlight, which they're going for 30 or 40 everywhere else. Absolutely beautiful. All the little blue ones and the polka dot ones are also, they've got all these like $49 plecas, all the little peppermint snowballs and mini snowballs and all that kind of stuff. Also the Pethia Gellus and Auronticus, those are ones I considered putting in the tank too. And the melon barbs, Aquatic Arts has all these right now. Like those are their pictures they sent me. David, the manager, sent me. Also, the other thing I think I'm gonna get is the actual the autosynclus for that tank. I'm gonna get either a marbled autosynclus or a zebra autosynclus, just because I need them to clean. And then I think shrimp wise, I was thinking maybe as you guys have seen in my other tank, the beautiful, this is not showing up, yellow Amano that Aquatic Arts carries. Man, I wish I could put these guys in that tank though, with that blue, that pop of blue and yellow. I mean, it's like it has the best of both worlds. It's such a beautiful fish. Again, here's that arrow fish that it's $40 at Moonlight. That's a picture of his tank right now. Those are the $40 a pop black arrow. They're a new species of tetra. And then there's also the scratch tetras he has right now, which are blue and pink. And silver. They're kind of a weird one, but they have a weird shape, but they're pretty cool. You're breeding yellow Amano, Wicked Freaking Aquatics. Dude, message me about that. I want to hear how it's going. The other thing that I really want in the American hobby is more pipefish. We have like no pipefish. Pipefish now. I want pipefish. I'm going to have to talk to some of my fish distributors and suppliers about why we don't have no pipefish. I know it's because a lot of them like water parameters that are a little tricky, and a lot of them are pretty delicate. But other than those reasons, I want them. All right, you guys. So I need to wrap it up. My wife and I, it was her birthday this week, and happy birthday to my wifey. If I have time this weekend, I'll try to stream again or whatnot, but my wife and I are leaving town. So if I stream, it would only be if my wife is like going hiking, because we're going out towards the mountains. And I am not able to due to my physical limitations. And in that case, maybe I'd fire up a stream and just kind of chat with you guys from this cabin in the woods. But yeah, Somfong Rasboras are amazing. If you were curious about trying those, I have a video on Somfong Rasboras from like 6 or 7 years ago. All the info in it still stands, and the footage, you'll see what they look like. They're very, very pretty fish. I love them, and I'm still considering them for this aquascape today. But I need to get out of here because we're going to a birthday dinner for my wife. And then also on a little bit of a serious note, it is the anniversary of a couple people who passed away in this community. 2 of the 5 I'm thinking of in the years that we've had this fishery and used to be the Secret History Living in Your Aquarium community. These are not just like random people that were in chat a lot. These are people that were like judges for competitions that we did and giveaways, or people that like I met in person quite a few times too. And I'm not going to name names because not every one of them wants it that, you know, like known again that this was the case. But if you are feeling lonely, depressed, hopeless, whatever, especially with, you know, if you're Muslim, there's the holiday thing going on. But if you're not, there's just, life is crazy right now in the world. And no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of interpersonal family issues, you know, people are having. There's also economics. Everyone's feeling the pinch. I get it. And of course, then life is just crazy sometimes. You never know what's going to come your way. And I'm going to share with you guys that my aunt passed away from cancer on December 31st or January 1st. And she was in her late 60s, 68 or 9. And she fought a really brave fight, but it was her time, I guess. The absolute tragedy that is sparking me to remind you guys about what I'm going to say next is that my cousin, who's younger than me by 8 years, she took her own life 2 days after her mom's funeral this week. And it reminds me, because in Facebook, I also got alerts reminding me of 2 of the people who've done that in our community. So please know that you're not alone. And even if it's just a nerdy friend on the internet or somebody in this community, like, we're here for you. And yes, I don't know your problem and I can't speak to everybody. So I like to think that maybe I'm at least a distraction and an amusement. But there are people in the community that will talk to you. There are so many good people here. And I want to thank you guys for being such a freaking awesome community. This last video, when I asked you guys what learning style or what level of detail I should go into, the amount of love and thoughtful answers and feedback you guys gave me really warmed my heart. And then with the news that I got this week, it just reminded me, you know, especially like here in the Northwest, it's been dark and depressing and rainy and cold for months and months and months. And reach out to fellow fish nerds, you know, at least touch base, stick around another day and put your foot in front of the next. I know it's really hard, and sometimes that's not what's on your mind when you're in a dark place. But again, so many of us in this community have dealt with everything from, you know, trauma, PTSD, abuse, substance issues, whatever it may be, anxiety, depression, loss of others, our own health issues. And a lot of us have found a lot of solace in fish keeping. But if you're feeling like fish keeping is not enough anymore, or your music or whatever it is you love to do is falling short, don't let people fall short. There'll be something else that will make you laugh. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not this whole freaking week. It might suck this week, but it will get better and you will get through it with almost every issue you face. And the older you get, the more you see this, and the more freaking heart-wrenching it is when you see people leave early and you know that they would have had so much potential. So I want you to know, and I know that you guys have my back, and I know you're here for me, and I feel it, and I thank you so incredibly much. But I want you guys to be there for each other too. So please, like, somebody was like, hey, we should make a support group for people who are in sobriety, who are fish keeper. Like, anything you want to do like that on the Discord or whatever, just let me know. I am more than happy to facilitate that. But you guys can do that elsewhere too. I want to, you know, everyone has the power to do these things. But I want you guys to just know that, you know, there's like-minded people, and a lot of us have been through hell, different experiences, all of us, and it's all relative. But there is help, there is hope. And sometimes I just have to find the beauty and the happiness and the little thing that makes you kind of half smile one day, and the rest of the day is really hard. But there will be a happy day coming again. Know that. Just know that. Even whatever it is you're going through, you will laugh again at some point. And you will find that you want to be here for something that happens in your life. And you will never know what you missed if you decide to call it a day. So anyways, you guys, I got to get going, but I want everybody to know how valued you are just for being a human, just for being here, and for being someone who loves others and someone who is loved by others. You are a part of a community, whether you like it or not. So, and you're a part of this community, and I want to just thank you all. So please, please share your feelings. You don't need to say, hey, I'm real down, and spill your guts to someone necessarily. You might just say, like, you know, hey, I want to talk about what fish I should stock in my tank. And maybe it'll just distract you and you feel better, you know. But there are plenty of people that are willing to hear you out, and you can spill your guts too. And I know plenty of you've done it to me. I've done it to y'all. So, you know, just stay strong, everybody. And much love. I need to go love my wife, my family, and, you know, remember to love those around you and take care of those around you, as I always say, you know, and obviously take care of yourself, because if you're not here, you can't do your part to love those and take care of those animals, humans, plants, whatever it is that are around you. So you guys, thank you for everything you do for me, and I will see you again soon. Much love, and have a wonderful night, day, wherever you are in the world. Just keep on keeping on, guys. Much love. I'll see you guys next time.